Making the case for Colorado, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, looking over some possible college football playoff contenders. We know who the true contenders are, who the teams that are expected to make a push near the end of the season, the elites of college football. But how about some of those teams that are under the radar that have played themselves into a position to maybe make a move in November? We looked at Texas earlier in the week, of course, with the monumental win against Oklahoma, who has been the king of the Big 12, and maybe Texas has made its breakthrough. Miami, horrible start against LSU. They've won 5 consecutive games. Now they've got a weak schedule with the ACC Coastal after surviving a scare against Florida State. Notre Dame, of course, defeated Virginia Tech to complete the first half of its schedule at 6-0. Now let's look at a very unlikely team out of the Rocky Mountains. It's Colorado. Like, comment, subscribe to the Voice of College Football for the very best in college football discussion, debate, and analysis. Colorado's 5-0. They are 2-0 in the Pac-12 conference. They're taking on USC at the Coliseum. The Trojans are a full touchdown favorite at 3-2, 2-1 in the Pac-12 conference. So Colorado is kind of the Kentucky of the Pac-12. They continue to be the underdog as placed by Vegas, and they continue to win football games. And if they win this one, then we may have something. Because keep in mind that Colorado, yes, credit them with 5-0, but also credit them with playing a schedule before this past week's win against Arizona State of teams that have a combined 1-16 record. Mike McIntyre has not had the best of stays in Boulder. He started in 2013, so this is his 6th season. He's been around a while. So they had that crazy aberration of a season in 2016 where they went to the Pac-12 championship game, went 10-2 in the regular season before they were exposed late in the campaign in blowout losses against Washington and Oklahoma State. But they had the fine season, and he was the Pac-12 Coach of the Year, maybe the National Coach of the Year. Take away that year and the big 5-0 start this year, Mike McIntyre at Colorado is 15-34. All right. Laviska Shenault. Everybody needs to know about Shenault at wide receiver. He's leading the nation with 51 catches and 6 touchdowns. Not only is he productive, he is a beast. He's a next-level receiver, and he has caught some very important passes. He was a monster again against Arizona State this past weekend in a 28-21 win. 13 receptions in the game for 140 total yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 receiving. If you go back to the Nebraska opener that got the Buffs started, actually in their second game as they beat Colorado State in the opener, he caught not only the game winner, but he caught down 2 scores, the touchdown or the conversion down the left sideline with an incredible diving one-handed catch that put the Buffs in position to extend the game to give them the last shot on the last drive. Trayvon McMillan has been a find since transferring from Virginia Tech, where he was a 1,000-yard back in the ACC as a freshman. A bit lost in the fray there. I don't know why, because the Hokies have been void at running back, but he transferred, and he's doing the job. He had 136 yards against Herm Edwards' club. He's averaging 6.3 yards per carry, 105 yards per game. Steven Montez. He came back to this team this season. It looked like he was going to be all by himself on the offense with nothing surrounding him that provided production the last few years. A revamped offensive line and no real playmakers to count on that we knew about. And he's had a great season. 328 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks against Arizona State. So on the season, he's completing, Montez, 75% of his passes. 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 rushing touchdowns. He has been extremely good. And after the game against Arizona State, where they finally kind of legitimized that they're a decent team, Colorado did, after winning those 4 games against 1-16 competition, Montez says, credit the offensive line. He said, man, I'm clean. We've played a full game. I'm clean. They've kept me upright. And the Colorado offensive line, returning 4 starters, was able to do that against an Arizona State pass rush that is pretty vaunted. Defensively for the Buffs, they've got Mustafa Johnson. Need to know about him. 9 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. Also, Nate Landman, 44 total tackles to lead the team with 7 tackles for loss and 2 interceptions. This Colorado defense had a goal line stand that was key against Arizona State after giving up a 72-yard pass play. They held Arizona State out of the end zone on a 1st and goal at the 3. They really turned it on down the stretch. Arizona State's final 5 possessions, they ran 17 plays for just 32 yards as the Buffs put it away. All right, so Colorado's 5-0. They have not received any credit for this. I heard 2 national shows this week talk about the Pac-12's limited chances in reaching the college football playoffs, and I finally heard about Colorado tonight. The first 2 conversations mentioned Washington, Oregon, Stanford, but not Colorado, even though they're the only undefeated team in the Pac-12. And I get it. The schedule has been very weak, and they have to prove themselves. But still, at this point in the season, they have a legitimate shot. Can you imagine Colorado going undefeated through the Pac-12? They'd have to be in the playoff. Well, we'll put the brakes on. They go to USC this week, and then they come home, and they've got Washington. So USC and Washington the next 2 weeks. If they win those 2, then we'll revisit this conversation definitely in a couple weeks with Mike McIntyre's Colorado Buffs. Would love to hear what you have to say about the Buffs and some of these underrated or under-the-radar teams that are vying for a shot at the college football playoff as we near the halfway point in 2018. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please sign up for the newsletter. It's the best. The voice of college football comes out each and every Monday, so just leave your email at MarkRogersTV@gmail, and we'll get it right out to you. And, of course, like, comment, and subscribe to the best discussion, debate, and analysis right here at Mark Rogers TV.